We'd like to welcome everybody to the regular board meeting of the Linn-Mar Community School District. Very happy to see so many happy faces tonight. That's happy to see, good to see, and the excitement in the room is wonderful. We appreciate you coming. Unfortunately, Rachel is ill this evening, so she'll be absent. So as we move forward, we need to determine a quorum, please, Jonathan.
Director Foss?
Present.
Director Lau Lancaster?
Here.
Director Maury?
Here.
Director Thomas?
Here.
Director Walker?
Here.
Director Wall? President Buchholz?
Here. Thank you. Quorum is present. We need to adopt the agenda, please.
Moved. Second.
Sorry. Katie?
That was me.
Britt? Motion by Britt, second by Melissa. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll now go to the public hearing. So you need to refer to Exhibit 701.1-2. A public hearing will be held regarding the proposed budget for fiscal year 2024-25. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. This has been posted. This is our second public hearing. Is there anybody here that wants to talk about that public hearing? If none, the public hearing is closed. Thank you. Now we're going into the special recognition, the Lions Volunteer Award winners. Carla, Angela will be presenting the awards.
This is one of the most exciting board meetings I get to be a part of. So tonight we're going to introduce our Lions Awards winners, and then we're going to go with our volunteer awards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read off your name if you've been nominated, and go ahead and come up and stand by me. I'll be here for you. It's okay. I'm going to read a little bit, and then you're free to sit back down or go or whatever suits your fancy this evening. So we're going to start with Kim Bell. So Kim was nominated for the Living Legend Award for Excellence in Leadership. She is the Linn-Mar High School Associate Principal and was nominated by Jeff Gustafson and Danielle Patterson. Linn-Mar High School has been fortunate to bear witness to Kim's leadership and thrive under her respectful and caring guidance for 35 years. She has supported an incredible number of staff, students, departments, and extracurriculars. Kim hasn't worn just one hat at any point in her career. This is neat to saying this, lots of heels and running, but not just one hat. Staff know they can come to her for support and guidance while they simultaneously maintain the space to perform their roles. They can do this with the clear expectations and resources she provides to them to accomplish their goals. Kim, your desire to bring your best self to students and staff so they can achieve their full potential has left a lasting mark on the district. Congratulations, Kim. Thank you. Next up, we have Tracy Gedemy. Hi. Tracy was nominated for Innovator Award for Excellence in Positive Change. She's an educational associate for the high school, and she was nominated by Kim Bell. Tracy is a true innovator when it comes to helping students thrive in their education. She has been integral in the development of the Response to Intervention RTI program. She takes pride in excelling in every capacity of her job, consistently working to help students in new ways. With her assistance, students are often able to gain the knowledge and skills necessary to pass classes. She is constantly modeling a strong work ethic and positive attitude. Her genuine love and enthusiasm for teaching and working with students is evident to everyone that has a chance to witness her at work. Tracy, your dedication to our students and doing whatever it takes to help them succeed at an elevated level is invaluable. Congratulations. Next up, we have Heather Jordan. Heather was nominated for Optimizer for Excellence in Teamwork. She's a Senior Human Resources Generalist for the district, and she was nominated by Melissa Freck. Heather Jordan's positive impact has been felt not only by those who work closely with her daily, but by every single person who walks into the Human Resources office. She ensures everyone feels welcomed, supported, and recognized for the contributions and strengths they bring to the table. She empowers staff to move confidently forward with her support behind them. Through all of her endeavors, she ensures the district as a whole is supported, recognized, and included. You know you can always count on her to get any task done with warmth, a collaborative spirit, and a calm and reasoned approach. Heather, thank you for going above and beyond daily for our district. Congratulations. Next up is Lindsay Starmer. Lindsay was nominated for Optimizer for Excellence in Teamwork. She's a school counselor at Excelsior Middle School, and she was nominated by John Christian. Lindsay Starmer brings a passionate mindset and nurturing heart to students and staff every day. The development and success of the PBIS program at Excelsior is in large part thanks to Lindsay. She has helped staff set clear expectations and standards that they can put forth to their students' success daily. Lindsay has also helped create a peer-to-peer program called Lion Links, which connects students with special needs to their general education peers through activities they can participate in together. Lindsay empowers her peers to feel they already have the answer or have the skill set to meet their students' needs. Your commitment to our students to grow and enjoy learning is greatly appreciated. Congratulations, Lindsay. Come on now. Next up, it's Angela Burke. Angela was nominated for Newcomer for Excellence in New Ideas. She's a volunteer and community relations coordinator for the district, and she was nominated by Stephanie Meyer, Ashley DeLeo, and Erin Acosta. Angela spent many years as a volunteer for Linn-Mar, giving hundreds of hours supporting the district. In 2022, her current position opened, and she stepped right in, ready to keep the program growing. Angela strived to find ways to streamline processes so the building volunteers and their coordinators could focus on the big picture, supporting our kids. She developed an orientation process with consistent messaging, revamped volunteer terminology, and created a volunteer handbook for easy reference. Angela asks for feedback regularly, wanting to support her volunteers and her coordinators across the district in unique ways. She does so with great enthusiasm and a positive attitude. Your compassion and commitment to our students and district is very appreciated. Congratulations, Angela. Next up is Hillary Hunter. Hillary was also nominated for Newcomer for Excellence in New Ideas. She's a school facilitator at Westfield Elementary, and she was nominated by the Westfield staff. With only 2 years in with the district, Hillary has already made a profound impact on those she works with daily. She's the first to accept responsibility for the Westfield team's commitments, and she motivates others through her words and actions. She goes the extra mile by joining her staff in their own journeys by providing insightful guidance and support. Hillary takes the time to recognize the strengths of her staff and uses those strengths to pair staff and students who will work well together, ensuring positive growth for both. With your positive spirit, open communication, and supportive outlook, you have driven students and staff alike to aim for amazing growth. Congratulations, Hillary. Next up, we have Deb Bundy. Deb was nominated for Service for Excellence in Superior Performance. She's a school counselor at Echo Hill Elementary, and she was nominated by Brian and Holly Corkery. Deb has been an integral piece to the building's dynamic, impacting every student in the building and providing support to her peers for 21 years. Deb inspires excellence and dedication in others with ease. She has taken the lead with PBIS implementation throughout the building, bringing her creativity and innovation to inspire and drive students to do the best they are able every day. Deb has taken charge of a new district-wide curriculum, Character Strong, as well. This continues the growth and development of students' social and emotional skills. Due to her leadership, Echo Hill has become a leader in the implementation of that program. Thank you for the years of service and for going above and beyond for our school. Congratulations, Deb. Next up, we have Brock Galbraith. So Brock was nominated for the Lion Pride Award, going the extra mile. He is currently a bus driver for the district and was nominated by Brian Cruz. For 7 years now, Brock has been going the extra mile for the district with his Linn-Mar pride, great leadership, and support for his peers and students. Brock never hesitates to step in and take on any task or provide help where it's needed. He supports the Transportation Department and district in a variety of programs, including training and development for the Transportation Department. But most importantly, he supports the students in this district in a tremendous way, taking extra time to be there for them and advocate for them however he can. Brock takes extra time from his day to support their extracurriculars, both in transportation and in his Linn-Mar spirit and pride. Brock, your compassion and commitment to our students and staff is appreciated beyond measure. Congratulations. And last but not least is Amy Stevens. Amy was nominated for the Shirley Pantini Excellence in Equity Award. She's an Atlas teacher for the high school and was nominated by Danielle Patterson. The Atlas program has benefited tremendously from Amy Stevens' kind heart and high expectations for the young men she teaches. Many of Amy's students come from a very diverse background. She nurtures, guides, and ensures each student that comes into her classroom has what they need to learn, grow, and be successful. Amy is a member of the District Diversity Group and the director of the Restorative Discipline Program at Linn-Mar. She's a leader in equity and diversity, training, supporting staff and faculty with questions about situations that may arise. Our district continues to grow to be better every year, thanks to you. Congratulations, Amy.
Hello, I'm Angela Burke, District Volunteer Coordinator, and I am going to announce a few volunteer awards as well. So Tabitha, please join me as well. I'm going to start first with our Above and Beyond Award, which recognizes those through their leadership that have significantly impacted our schools. Tabitha Lightfoot has served multiple years as a volunteer coordinator for both Westfield and the high school, and previously led Westfield's PTO and coordinated efforts for the Linn-Mar Middle School Band Solo Fest. Tabitha embodies the spirit of volunteerism. Not only does she volunteer herself, but she helps to find the best volunteers for each task at hand, which sometimes, see this little guy back here, Beckett, sometimes is him. So you come to that Solo Fest, and he is the best runner of all of those tabulations around that school. Please join me in acknowledging Tabitha's leadership in our district and her willingness to go above and beyond. Second, we have the Making a Difference Volunteer Award. This award recognizes volunteers that have supported our classrooms and additional efforts with their time. While many volunteers find their way to Linn-Mar due to children or grandchildren in our schools, Margene came to us as a community member who just truly wants to make a difference. Margene volunteers at Live and Grove with reading, writing, small groups, mini lessons, and material support. Like excessive material support. As indicated by teacher Katie Schaefer, Margene has high expectations for each student, corrects them as needed, and celebrates their successes. She appreciates the students and always says that she gets more out of volunteering than we get out of her time. I can assure you that Linn-Mar students and staff are gaining a lot from Miss Margene and are better because of her. Please join me in congratulating Margene Gardner, this year's Making a Difference. And last but not least, our Unsung Hero Volunteer Award recognizes those who have made an impact in our school community over multiple years. Diane Bean is in her 11th year of volunteering and has exceeded 1,500 hours of volunteer service. As mentioned by librarian Chris Hart, she always comes in smiling and always offers to do more. Diane is dedicated to serving behind the scenes with material preparation, even at home during the summers. She does library work and also manages to find time for her passion of helping students learn to read. Please join me in celebrating Diane Bean, our unsung hero.
All good? That was awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate all of you, and congratulations to each of you. Number 402, School Board Recognition Month is May.
May. Congratulations to all of our Lions and Volunteer Awards winners. We're happy to have you here tonight. Congratulations. Thank you for all that you do.
Stick around.
There's a
There'll be-
reception
there'll be
later
a-
this month that
there'll
you
be
can come
another
to.
reception.
May 8th, yeah, May 8th. I believe it's May 8th. Okay, now
May
time
8th.
for the proclamation in honor of School Board Recognition Month. Whereas the Iowa Association of School Boards has designated the month of May as School Board Recognition Month in recognition of the dedicated service of all Iowa School Board members in propelling students to new heights, and whereas the publicly elected board members of the Linn-Mar Community School District Board of Directors play an important role in the decisions that directly influence the education of all Linn-Mar students, and whereas the decisions made by the Linn-Mar Board of Directors have a direct impact on the lives of the students as they move forward into society as successful learners and individuals, and whereas school board members work with students, staff, parents, educational professionals, and lawmakers to create and reach the educational vision of the district to inspire learning, unlock potential, empower achievement. Therefore, be it proclaimed that the Linn-Mar Community School District recognizes the contributions of the school board to the academic success of all students and offers a sincere thank you to each board member for their dedication to the well-being and achievement of the students. And it finally be proclaimed that as superintendent of the Linn-Mar Community School District, I declare May 2024 as School Board Appreciation Month and encourage all students, staff, and community members to recognize the devotion and service of the Linn-Mar School Board of Directors.
Thank you.
Thank you for all that
Thank
you
to
do
each
for
of
us.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Okay, normally we have audience communication, but we don't have anybody signed up. So we'll move on to finance and audit. And I don't know if we want to comment because we'll be getting into the budget later. That was a majority of our meeting, right? Unless you
Went
have
over
some
the
thoughts.
PowerPoint we're about to see tonight, so
Yeah.
I think we need to hash that out. And then we just talked about all of the updates on facilities, which I'm sure Amy will cover in her update.
Kristen, you all good?
Yeah. Yeah, we spent a lot of time just thinking about the presentation, so.
Okay, thank you. 6:02, we had a board visit. I appreciate everybody that was able to attend that session. It was a great time. Anybody have any thoughts or comments? Lindsay,
Those kids make some heck of roller coasters. Like, I want to ride all of them. I'm a roller coaster person, so getting to see science in action and the roller coasters, the kids, I mean, the data was great and all that, but for me, the highlight was getting to see the roller coasters that they were making in science.
And the teachers were excited. They wanted us in there. They wanted to see it,
Yeah,
so
so,
it was all good.
Appreciate the conversation we had with data, 'cause we don't always go that deep into information, and the honor that it was to see work, very established professionally work. We got to see it at a different level. Often we're there to just kind of make a walkthrough and see, oh, the school's well, but to see that the kids that are often in the most crisis and how we're going to deal with that one by one, and not just as the whole, I thought that was beautiful to see the personality of our leadership talk about the personality of our kids and how to help them be successful. It went from a global down to a person, and it was beautiful to see. Now, it's beyond, half that data is a little more than what I do in my daily life, but it was, I appreciated their work that they did.
It was beautiful. The data was beautiful as well. Just a huge shout out really to that team who and just for context, I mean, when we're talking about this data, and so this is the visit to Excelsior, and so this is kind of how they're deciding like the tier 2 and tier 3 interventions, and it's so, like everybody says data driven, but you know, seeing how, you know, whether it's an incident of bullying or a lower tier behavior, a higher tier behavior, and how they like weight those things, and it really just made it very non-biased, right? You know, I would hate it if my kid went to school and I thought, oh, well, that teacher has a grudge against him. Like, this system makes it very clear that, that can't happen. And it's so well thought out. It's really, everybody's on board with the system and implementing it. And I look forward to kind of that growing and seeing how we can take it, not just from Excelsior, but building to building, some of that continuity, because I'm looking forward to my kids going to Excelsior, and I just really appreciate all the work that staff does there to make that system work. Kudos to them.
I would also just like to commend the team there, both the administrators and the counseling team that put all of that work into creating that system. I think that this has been a multi-year process of trying to figure out how do we effectively address student behaviors and look at it from not just why are kids behaving the way they are, but what is the underlying issue that needs to be addressed, and how do we effectively support this student that might be showing up as a behavior issue, but really what's going on is that they might be lacking a skill. And so figuring out how do we teach kids the skills that they need to be successful in the classroom and outside of the classroom. And so if it comes that they need to have more social skills, then that's what they're going to be providing. If it looks like they might need to be having some more emotional regulation skills, then that's what they can really be focusing in on. And so I was just really impressed with the work that's gone into this over the past really several years. I think it's been 4 or 5 years that I know they've been talking about this and developing this system, and now there have been other school districts that have learned about what they've been doing in Excelsior and starting to implement some of their suggestions. So just really proud to be part of Linn-Mar and see what they're doing.
Just a quick comment myself. And of course, if Lindsay would have stuck around, she could have talked for us. But Mike Shipley made a statement. And Mike's been involved with the program since the original OVAS bullying program was put in place. And he made a statement as it's moving forward. He said, we're working on it and we're always going to work on it, but he said there's always going to be bullies. And I just thought that was kind of an interesting statement. You're never going to stop it because kids are kids. But how they've developed it from there, just like Melissa just said, it's moving forward. So it's a good program. Okay, Melissa and Britt, Venture.
It was a good meeting. They started off with, there was an icebreaker activity, but they gave us an update on their tributary project, which the city approached Venture, and a group of kids they did all of this research into, there's an unnamed creek, it's not unnamed anymore, but there's an unnamed tributary that goes along and connects into Boyson Roads, that creek, whatever that's called. And they went through a whole research, the history of the land, and then talking to all the neighbors that are along the creek. And it was about, I want to say, a year-long process. And the part I want to highlight is that they did a presentation to the Marion City Council, and city members commented on how impressed they were with our kids, that how they presented this information and how they came to the city, and their PowerPoint and the justification for requesting the naming, and it was approved. It went through. They're going to name it Cooper's Creek, which Cooper, I asked, is one of the Bowman family was an original settler. We all know Bowman because everything's named after them. Cooper, the kids decided, was another founding family that maybe needed some name recognition. And what's really cool is that this is going to end up on state and federal maps, and so everything our kids worked for, it's really going to be, and there's going to be signs on Boyson that'll say Cooper's Creek. But getting to hear about that project was really cool. And then they gave an update on enrollment numbers, and for anyone questioning why we need to kick the administrators out of this building, just in the last year, enrollment for Adventure has gone up 30%. And that enrollment, 321 kids signed up for next year, is a 250% increase over year one. So I left the project for you to talk about.
Yeah, so the last thing that I will share is that they're working on trying to assess what new strands to create, because every strand that they've implemented so far has been wildly successful. And so trying to look at how they continue to identify project-based learning opportunities for students in new areas of education. And so they will be this summer having a couple, one particular all-day or half-day session, and they'll be inviting all of the members of the venture program or committee to that, and trying to really assess what should this look like, how can we roll this out, who are the community partners that should be pulled in, because one of the great things about the venture program is that partnership with community businesses. And so they're going to be doing some really deep diving into the development of a couple of these new venture strands. And I left my notes in the car on what those strands are, so if you happen to remember what they are, that would be awesome. But otherwise, I know that they were great and sounded amazing, but I just don't remember.
They gave feedback on integrating, so at the last advisory meeting, they had us brainstorm new strand possibilities, and some of the ideas that came out were focusing on nonprofit experience or CTE, and there was discussion about things that already exist in the high school, so that would connect with nonprofit. They don't want to duplicate too much, but so they're looking at ways to integrate those new strand ideas into current strands. And then they're also in this planning workshop, all of the current strands, you got to find new projects every year. So they want to bring in the business community and bring in community leaders along with the advisory committee, and hopefully some students might come in August before school starts and talk about what the future of venture looks like, what projects might come out of that, how the strands are going to continue to grow and develop based on what they'd really like is to see more business-led projects. So the businesses come to us more than we go to them. So kind of trying to further expand that collaborative relationship that venture has already built. And we had a really great representation on the advisory. We had people from Medco, and we had nonprofit, and we've got business, and we have kids, students that are telling us about their experiences and what was great and what we want to improve. So that just a lot of really great conversation is happening, which then translates into really unique work-based learning opportunities for students that are just so different from the traditional classroom, and we're seeing these kids thrive. And I was a fan when it was just an idea, and now to see it, like, it's just so amazing what we're able to offer these kids, who some of them have come and told us, I hate the traditional classroom, but now I can't wait to come to school. So
I think one of the big requests that they have is if we know of any businesses in the community, or if we know of anybody that works for a business that might be interested in being involved in this, if we know somebody that might have any interest in having students be involved in their company, to please reach out to them and ask them if they're interested, and or share that contact information with the venture program, so that they can get a more diverse representation of companies to be talking with about partnership opportunities.
Say contact them, is there a specific?
Alyssa McDowell.
Yep.
Who?
Alyssa McDowell.
Alyssa
She's
McDowell.
our venture coordinator.
Okay.
And I would say, we have a lot of variety in these strands. I mean, we've had kids do marketing, we've had kids do graphic design, environmental projects. So I think the real goal is to not have the community put itself in a box and say, oh, well, they couldn't help with that, they're just students. Like, our students they're accomplishing really amazing things in this program. So just have the conversation and see would be my advice, because I would say that more often than not, the answer is probably going to be, yeah, our students could probably help you out with that.
So strands are like topic areas that venture, okay, just in case anybody else.
Yeah, like a subject
so
area.
there's like the design strand, and it takes you half your day. So it's either the morning of your day or the afternoon of your day, and it's like a 3-hour block. Nathan, jump in if I say something wrong. And there's multiple courses that are built into this one big block. So you're learning multiple courses worth of content, but in a project-based way. So it could be communications is in there, science is in there. So you're it just depends on what the strand is, but you're getting multiple course credits within that chunk of time.
One of the new strands that they're considering or looking into is human services. I remember that one as one of the,
Okay, yeah, that came up too.
and I know healthcare was one of the ones that they were assessing. I can't remember if that was
Yeah,
one of
last
the
time they talked
definitive
about
ones.
trying to bring back, Linn-Mar High School used to have like a nursing academy, and then it went away. And now if you want to do that, you go do the CNN program through Kirkwood. But sometimes that presents transportation problems for our students, so trying to bring that back. And then the newest strand that is going to launch in the fall is the educator. So they're going to have like a mini preschool room. They're going to have 3- and 4-year-olds come in and work with the kids, and they're going to learn about what it means to be an educator. And then they can also go and student teach everywhere but the high school, because it might be weird to student teach with your peers, but they can go to any of our middle schools or intermediates or elementaries in that strand as well. So that's kind of exciting.
That is exciting.
And there's a number of students that reach out to administrators every day, and I'm sure. I'm having a Zoom call tomorrow morning with 2 of them, so if any of the students reach out, give them some time if you've got time. You know,
Yeah,
I'm kinda
I've done
looking
it in the
forward to
past
that.
too, where the students need to interview
Yeah.
an administrator or a board member or something as part of their class. And these are really great kids that are doing something really different. So
Appreciate it, thank you. Unless somebody has anything to add for the city council, Rachel was going to give a presentation, but I don't personally have anything. So. Okay. Legislative update. There's something on your desk, your table from Britt and Melissa once again. So.
session ended on Saturday at like 4 a.m. So
Yeah.
it's closed. Yay.
Big things passed.
So basically, the update you have is all of the things that passed in the last 2 weeks or the last 2 days, whichever way you want to look at it. Highlights, the school security bill did pass. They passed an amended version that would let school districts use unexpended professional development funds to cover the cost of training associated with school employees being allowed to carry on school property. It also gets into school infrastructure, which qualifies for school safety funds, and there's information in the bill also on requirements of SROs. Any district that has more than 8,000 student enrollment is required to have an SRO present at every high school. Most of those buildings already have that, so.
One of the questions that has come up and I've been hearing some discussion about is whether or not, it doesn't specify within the legislation whether or not the requirement is a full-time at the high school at all times, or if it's just an assigned person for that high school. So I wonder, and we'll need to continue to watch that closely to see if anything changes or any amendments come back for that, because that could impact us.
Well, right now, because we don't meet, and we have,
Yes.
yeah, but
Yeah.
we don't meet that 8,000 threshold. So right now, what we are doing with our SOO program, we're good to go. It's not, right now with this bill, it is still thought that the requirements from last year, the original version of this bill, was that the allowment of people to carry on campus had to be voted on by the board and approved. It's not just a free-for-all, so I've gotten a lot of questions on that. So right now, the bill language doesn't look like that has changed since we're reading it on Thursday night. So the next education appropriations bill went through and created more processes for chronic absenteeism, truancy. So when that all goes through the DOE and comes out with guidance, we'll look to that and see if we have to update anything there. The charter school bill did pass, which is providing how charter schools are funded, and then also property purchasing rights. So public school districts who are going to sell unused buildings, there's some specifications about charter school rights to buy those. They did pass the standings bill, which is the final budget of the year. It does make some changes to funding. It cut an additional $17.5 million from the AEA budget. It included the already described $7.5 million cut. They diverted $10 million to fund the new Division of Special Education at the DOE. Let's see. The social studies curriculum bill that wasn't moving did pass, so they have to, there's going to be some sort of group that has to provide a report back to the Board of Education by December 31st of 2025, but it changes the standards of what's required to be taught in social studies curriculum. Teacher prep, there were some changes to how licensing works for teacher interns. They created a temporary initial teacher license through the Board of Education examiners. They also passed the literacy requirements bill. They split out the teacher prep and the literacy requirements. Those are now two separate bills that passed. But the bill did modify the teacher prep program and require that exam on the foundations of reading assessment. It also requires an individual plan for students in grades K-6 who are not reading at grade level, and provides parents with the right to retain their student if they're not reading at grade level. So the change there, originally every teacher in the state of Iowa would have to take that test regardless, and now it's just those in the teacher prep program who are graduating. There's some other bills I included that we had been following. The open enrollment transportation House file did pass, which just changes how transportation between districts for open enrollment works. Transportation will handle that. They amended the school immunization law to include a seizure action plan, and then added some more requirements on telling families about exemptions whenever we send anything out about immunization records. So, and then I did leave some of the ones we had been following that just didn't go anywhere. I left those under unfinished business. So that would be the human growth and development curriculum. Doesn't look like it went anywhere. The penalties for violating open meetings law hadn't been updated since April 19th, so I don't think that went anywhere. Modifying provisions about educational data collection didn't seem to go anywhere. And because there's an election in November, this was the end of the 2-year session, so bills don't get held over. I mean, they can just reprint them and package them and resubmit them, but next year will be a new 2-year session, so they'll have to start from scratch-ish. So that is it.
Appreciate all your time. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Any other comments? Okay. Superintendent Kortmeyer will share updates on the district.
Yeah, just a few district honors and highlights. We had some jazz and honors. Congratulations to the Colton Jazz Ensemble for capturing 3rd place honors in the state Class 4A Iowa Jazz Championships. Congrats. Also go out to Evan Shanley and Carter Buskey for earning solo honors. We also had Pride honors. Congratulations to the 24 Linn-Mar High School seniors who were nominated for the Pride of Linn-Mar. The recognition recognizes their perseverance, respect, integrity, determination, and empathy. You will also find us recognizing all 24 of them through various social media posts. You may have seen them go out already. Letter of Intent honors, congratulations to 11 of our Linn-Mar High School student athletes for recently signing their letters of intent. Just want to make a few notes about the personnel agenda that's coming up later in the meeting. Just again, we are seeing some of our classified staff members who originally received RIF notices. They're being recommended for hire into new positions, so we're very excited when we see that happening. Something interesting of note is our wrestling coaches, both Ryan Gatto and Bo Westfall, are being brought forward to be recommended for co-head coaches for varsity, assistant varsity, and JV wrestling next year. And I just want to share that with that change, their overall staffing FTE is remaining the same, the dollar amount's remaining the same, but it's just a different makeup or way that they're approaching their coaching staff. I want to give a nod to the high school administration is bringing forward Abby Parker as their recommendation for hire for Kim Belt's position. We recognized Kim earlier this evening. Earlier this year, Kim had announced her retirement, so it's really great to see that she was a Lions Award recipient tonight. But Abby's been a principal at Franklin Middle School in Cedar Rapids for the past couple of years, and prior to that, she served as a dean at our high school here. So we're welcoming her back to Linn-Mar. Retirements, Kevin Fry, who's with us, let us know he intends to retire at the end of May. Kevin has been with the district for since August of 2003 and served in so many capacities for us. just want to make sure that he knows how much we appreciate him. He's touched the lives of countless individuals through the various roles. And then we have two additional announcements tonight. So we had talked earlier about offering administrator early separations this year, as well as part of the budget cuts. And both you'll see Bob Reed listed on the personnel report and Tina March. And Bob began his teaching career in Kansas, and then soon thereafter he came back to Linn-Mar, where he had been both a student and a graduate of Linn-Mar. And we appreciate Bob's 33 years of service to the district as teacher, coach, administrator. So when you add all those up together, much like Clark, we've got a long-standing individual here with the amount of time and dedication, both as a student, teacher, coach, and administrator. So congrats, Bob. And then also Tina Marge. Tina began her teaching career in Illinois, where she spent the first 7 years teaching. But then she's been with our district for the last 35 years as a teacher, assistant principal, and then principal at both Indian Creek and Bowmanwood. And we'll miss them both dearly. Let's see, just a couple of other things. I'm going to pivot right to just some facilities updates. Tonight we just, right before this meeting, held the groundbreaking ceremony for the performance venue, so we're excited that that's off and running. We've got some value engineering opportunities that are still being explored, as well as the construction sequence. Met recently with Marion Fire Marshal and Marion building officials to discuss temporary egress. And of course, the site has started to be demoed. Administration building, there's a lot going on. We just John hosted, and Andy last week, a couple of opportunities for LRC staff members and board members to get into the building. So that's definitely coming along. I'm sure it was a great time for people to get in there and see what's happening there. But geothermal drilling is ongoing. Phase 1 of painting is about 95% complete. We've got tile installation happening, drywall hanging, and that finish is ongoing. There's a curtain wall framing and install is started, and a freezer floor poured. As far as this high school extension in this building, bid documents were published Thursday of last week, and there was a pre-bid meeting on the 18th of April, and bids will open on April 30th. And then the high school indoor activity center, we're looking at options for some benchmarking trips to come up in June. And with that, just a couple of dates to look forward to. We have this Thursday, we have high school conferences. And then Friday, there's no school, and there's a teacher comp day. And then May 6th, early childhood professional learning and senior recognition night, which will be the same time approximately that we're having our next board meeting.
Good, thank you. John Galbraith, CFO, is going to present the budget. Numbers.
All right, thanks President Buckles. So the 2024-2025 certified budget, I'm going to start this off a little bit different than we have in years past. This year was the first year that we've had to have 2 public hearings and the addition of that proposed tax notice. So March 25th, we held a public hearing on that. Kind of the sense that I got from that meeting and other questions and talking with other SBOs in the area was that was super confusing for all involved. So I want to take just a little bit of time to try to explain that. So the House File 718 was passed in the 2023 legislative sessions. One of the larger pieces was that annually mailed proposed property tax hearing notice. So in that, there were 3 sections. Each section went over your school district of residence, your county of residence, and your city of residence if you had a city of residence. And then the information within those 3 sections was the same, and we'll get more to that here shortly. The hearing that had to be held could only solely be concerned with the proposed property tax notice, and no other unrelated business could be discussed. So that's how it was passed in the legislature. So on that meeting, it was a 1 agenda item. Only the public hearing could be on that agenda. That was how the legislation was written, so obviously we had to follow that. So I apologize, this is a little small, but I was trying to get kind of all the important pieces on here. So on the top left corner, that is just the information that says the time, the place, and the date of that public hearing. So there's one of those for each the county, city, and school district. On the bottom left portion there, that's showing what the current property tax rate in dollars were on the very left. On the very right of that is what the proposed property tax rate in dollars were. And then the center one, I think this is what led to at least part of the confusion, is that was the effective tax rate. So what that is that shows what would happen to the tax rate should the local government, so the city, the school district, or the county, budget the same amount of property tax dollars next year as they did for the current year. Then the top right is just the table that shows all the current taxes levied within the taxing districts, so the school, the county, the city, and then there's an others, there's an EMT tax, so on and so forth, that makes up your total property tax. So then it also shows you what percent each of those entities make up of your overall property tax. Then the bottom right is the comparison of a $100,000 house or a $100,000 commercial property for your current tax year and the proposed tax year, and then what percent of change that is. Now we'll get into the certified budget portion here. So what's the purpose of the certified budget? It's to establish our maximum tax rate and then establish an estimate of the budget year expenditures for all funds. So we're not talking just general fund, we're talking all funds. So what are all of the funds? So at Linn-Mar here we have our general fund, our management fund, our PERL, physical education recreation levy, our PEPL, physical plant and equipment levy, our debt service, our SAVE or capital projects funds, our student activity fund, our nutrition fund, and then our other enterprise funds. So here we have two enterprise funds, Roar Store and the Aquatic Center. So that will list all the revenues. We went over this back in October after our had our CAR, so and then all of the expenses as well. So this is kind of a repeat of that. As we get into those individual funds, I have that sliver of each of them on there, so at that time I'll review how is this funded and what are the eligible expenses that come out. So our proposed tax rate for FY25. Kind of third line from the bottom there is our total levy. We're looking at $17.99390. So $17.99 would be our tax rate. That is an increase of 10 cents from last year. How did we get there? Our general fund levy will decrease by 15 cents. Our management fund will increase by 35, and our debt service will decrease by 10. So this is a change from that proposed tax notice that was listed at 1805. The reason that was listed as 1805 is at that point in time the state legislature hadn't set what SSA was. So we wanted to give ourselves a little bit of flexibility, not knowing that that was that we were still able to levy the funds we needed to maintain our financial health while also thinking about our taxpayers in the district as well. So once that was set, we were comfortable in lowering that to $17.99 and still trying to meet those two objectives. So the district cost per pupil. So when we talk about SSA, what they are talking about there is what's the increase on the district cost per pupil. So this year SSA was set at 2.5%, which increases our district cost per pupil up to $7,826. So why is that important? So funding in the state funding formula is our district cost per pupil times our certified enrollment from the previous year or from this year. So the enrollment in October of 2023 is what feeds into that funding formula for our FY25 budget. So what does that look like? So highlighted there is the FY25. So our enrollment was 7,566.6 times that 7,826 gives us the $59.2 million. So you can see on the right there that is 0.9% change from the previous year. There's also legislation that says all school districts shall have 101% of their previous year's budget. So the way that is funded is through property tax. That's what's called the budget guarantee. So that next line down there, the budget guarantee line, we are short by $49,369 in order to have our 101% funding or 1% new money. So in order to get to that, we can levy that property tax, which is 0.0196 or just under 2 cents levy rate to get there. So next thing on the agenda is that budget guarantee resolution in order to get that 1% new money. Enrollment. So two items on here. The red bars show our certified enrollment, which is what our budget is based off of. And then the black bars in there is our students served. So you can see over time, our certified enrollment over the past 10 years is growing a little quicker than what our students served is, but they are both still trending upward. So open enrollment. So the red there is our open enrollment in, so students living in another district coming to Linn-Mar. And then the black is the students that live within the Linn-Mar district and then are open enrolling elsewhere. So as you can see, we had a really good 9-10 year stretch there where those stayed pretty consistent. In the last couple of years that has grown a little bit. So that's all money that follows the students now. So when kids open and roll out, we do pay those other districts. We receive the cash in for them because they live here, but then they open and roll out and we have to pay that bill to those school districts where they're being served. All right, so we'll take a little closer look here at what our general fund is. So that's our largest fund and how that is funded. So 57.4% of that comes from the state, so through state aid, and then 33.5% comes from property taxes, 2.8 from federal, and 7.6 from other local. Now revenues, where's our revenue, where's our money being spent? That revenue that comes in, how are we spending that? So just over 55% is spent on instruction, and 10% is spent on student support staff. So about 65% is really directly related to the classroom, and then a few other ones there. The building admin is 5.6, transportation 2%, operation and maintenance 4.4%. One thing to note on this is 79.2% of our estimated expenditures next year will be on salary and benefits. So right at 80% again is where we've really been over the last at least handful of years. So that stays pretty consistent, which is also pretty consistent statewide. Generally, school districts range from 75 to 85% are salary and benefits out of their general fund.
John, I just want to comment that one thing we talked about in finance audit on this slide is that all of those different pieces are the staff within those different departments. So sometimes that's misconstrued. When you see operations and maintenance, you don't necessarily immediately think the people who work in O&M. And so I just want to clarify that
Yep.
each of those wedges are salary and benefits of people that work in those departments.
Yep, along with purchase services as well.
Yes.
So both of them. Yep, thank you. So we'll get into the individual levies that make up our overall levy. So our general fund levy, we're proposing, or the recommendation there is that that'll decrease by 15 cents. I should back up and look at the sliver on the right. So our general fund is funded by property tax, state aid, and miscellaneous income. That can pay for salaries, benefits, materials, utilities, and a few other things. So it is our largest fund. So with the property taxes, that's where the levy comes in. So we want to decrease that by 15 cents. And kind of three big items here of how we get to that 15 cents. So the state funding formula that the state sets, that funding formula comes out. It's made up of a bunch of individual levies that sometimes change by less than a penny. I didn't want to try to list all of those there. So just to summarize that decreases by 23 cents. Our instructional support levy, which is a board-approved levy, decreased by 5 cents. 10% is the maximum on that, so we're still doing that 10% maximum. Due to property values, that has a decrease of 5 cents. And then the cash reserve levy, we are increasing by 13 cents. The cash reserve levy is, if you remember, the SBRC items that we approve at the board, so the State Budget Review Committee, when we submit our special ed deficit, our ELL deficit, our ELP beyond 5 years, open enrollment not on last year's count. I think there's one more. There's a few other SBRC items too. That just gives us the spending authority. So they say you can go ahead and spend that money, but they don't give you the cash to spend with it. So this is how you get the cash to be able to cover those expenses through that spending authority. Let me get to my sheet here. And then, so that's one part of the cash reserve. The other part of the cash reserve it's really called the other cash reserve, and that's for the cash flow purposes. So we're increasing that by 13 cents. We really feel like that is able for us to be able to balance the financial stability of the district. So our two major metrics, our UAB percentage and our solvency ratio. So if you remember last year, we dipped just below our 7% on our solvency. Right now, our projections on our solvency for this current year is 7.9% with our UAB at 11.8. In FY25, those jump up to 11% on our solvency and 13 on our UAB, which is really getting pretty close to right where we kind of want to live. So although we could have increased that cash reserve, we chose not to because we feel like that's the balance to get our metrics where they need to be, but also taking the taxpayer into consideration and trying to maintain kind of that level tax rate for them as well. One thing we're going to jump into, this is a little different than the last few years too, is just some of our general fund categoricals. So if you want to think of that as buckets with inside the bucket, because they are restricted just like the rest of the buckets are. There's revenue that comes in and expenses that go out. Very similar here. So there's a few others that are added to this list, and depending upon what district you have, there's also some other ones that other districts have that Linn-Mar doesn't have. But these are kind of the big ones for Linn-Mar. So the homeschool assistance, teacher leadership, the 4-year-old preschool, TSS, teacher salary supplement, early intervention, early literacy, teacher quality student achievement, or professional development as that's referred to sometimes, TAG, gifted and talented, and then at-risk dropout. So we're going to jump into the TQSA one here a little bit, and Nathan, Bob, I'll ask you guys to jump in just a touch in a couple slides. Nathan's aware of that, I believe. So here's just kind of the legal uses that comes from Iowa Code for TQ. So the purpose of the funding is to implement the professional development provisions of the teacher career paths and leadership roles specified in Iowa Code section 284.15. So that can be, so the funding for that is limited to providing professional development to teachers, including salaries for time beyond the normal negotiated agreement, activities and pay to support a beginning teacher mentoring and induction program, pay for sub-teachers, professional development materials, speakers, and professional development content, textbooks and curriculum materials used for classrooms if those such materials include professional development, and the cost associated with implementing the individual's professional development plans. So how do we use them at Linn-Mar? And I'll touch on this a little bit. Bob, Nathan, please jump in. Amy, you as well if you would like. So the TQSA, there's a committee that reviews what our plan is every year, how the funds are going to be spent. They're divided up into a kind of 3 areas. One area for PD, a district TQ fund, and then the individual buildings get an allocation, which is by per teaching staff, if I remember correctly. So kind of 3 different buckets within that on how those are going to be used. So this is the guidance that they put out of how those funds would be approved. So the PD that's most likely to get results, and then a low likelihood that you'd be approved to go to that type of PD there on the right. So they're really trying to get teaching staff to professional development that's really going to make a difference in our classrooms. Then also the TQ committee requires a form to be completed after each training to ensure that the implementation and the follow-up from the professional development. So that's what this form looks like here. So it's really who they are, what building or department, where they went, and then the what and the why. So one thing to point out there is in that last box is, how does that opportunity, that professional development I went to, how does that align with our strategic plan as well? So kind of tying everything back to that strategic plan, I think is a good thing. Bob, Nathan, did I miss anything? Good? Okay.
I'm in with one thing. Our committee is equally comprised of teachers appointed by LMEA and administrators, and everything we do is voted on or directed by a committee. It's not any of us from an administrative hat driving the process. We take great pride in having a great committee, keeping our minutes up to date, and meeting on a regular basis. If you look at some other schools, they may only meet once a year, and that's their TQ committee. We take great pride in really trying to make it very useful for our teachers and getting them the professional development that they may need.
Thanks, Bob. So the management fund. So the management fund is funded by property taxes. The expenses from that is the liability insurance, property insurance, early retirement. So it's not literally the fund that pays for school district management. That comes out of the general fund. The management fund is for our liability, property insurance, and early retirement. So We're looking to increase this by 35 cents for two reasons, really. Our increases in our premiums for our property and casualty and work comp, and then also with our early separation package, we're funding year 2 of last year's early separation. We'll be funding year 1 of this year's early separation. So an increase in expenses there that we need to be able to cover those expenses and have the cash flow for that. So the physical plant and equipment levy, funded by property taxes. So there's two parts to that. There's the board approved of 33 cents, and then there's the $1.34 that was approved by the voters. That was just extended for another 10 years here in March. So no change there. Those two levies continue at their same rates from last year. That levy is expected to generate roughly $4.6 million. Some of the current expenditures and some future expenditures is capital projects, parking lots, roofs, windows, HVAC, our preventative and ongoing maintenance, our transportation vehicles, large equipment purchases, safety and security improvements to our buildings, and then we currently have the high school renovation bond note, or the PEPL note, that we'll pay off this year. So the Pearl Fund, Public Education and Recreation Levy. Again, that's funded by property taxes. The expenses are the playgrounds or rec spaces. So this paid for a portion of our tennis courts. It paid for a portion of the track over at Oak Ridge. It upkeeps those facilities, and it also upkeeps and pays for some of our playground improvements. So this is $1.13.5 that was approved by the voters. So no change from the previous year. That'll still be 13.5 cents. Fairly small levy. It's expected to generate just under $360,000. And then I kind of touched on there what the expenses were. So capital projects, grounds maintenance, and a little community education piece. The debt service. So this is funded by property taxes and transfers. So the debt here is principal and interest of our general obligation bond payments. So the reason this decreases by 10 cents is kind of two different things. The way that the bond structure is set up for our principal and interest payments, and just kind of like every other borrowing, as you go through time, you're paying down your principal, your interest gets less. So that's really just a fraction of this. Is we know what our principal and interest cost overall, and we just need to generate enough funds to be able, or enough revenue to be able to pay those interest costs. So we were able to decrease this by 10 cents, which will fund roughly generate about $5.43 million. So tax levy here at 2.5%. What this looks like individually for those rates for this year. So I want to point this out as I kind of pull this up on the screen. So one thing that I think gets lost or confused at times is the school district doesn't control 100% of their tax levy. So here at Linn-Mar, the board controls about 30%. So what do they control? Out of the general fund, they control the instructional support levy and the cash reserve levy. They control 100% of the management fund and 100% of the board PEPL, so the 33-cent portion of the PEPL. Then the voters control just about 20%. So they control the voted PEPL, the PEARL, and then the debt service. So that was our general obligation bond. So those three things were voted on to be approved. And then the state controls about 50.5% for the rest of that levy that makes up that. So that's the rest of the general fund there is what the state controls. So our rate trend over time here, like I said, a 10-cent increase up to $17.99 from $17.89 last year. As you can see, we can go back 15 years and we were at over $20 and decreased down to 17 there in 2015 and have hovered in between that 17 and I guess a couple of years are just over 18, but between that 17 and $18 mark here for roughly the last 10. So rollback. So I'm going to get to a slide here that talks about what does this mean for taxpayers on a $2,000 house. So one of the things that the state does every year is it sets the rollback percentage. So for FY24, that was 54%, And then for this next coming year, it'll be 46%. So it's about an 8% drop. So what that means, and we'll get to it here in just a second. So it applies to the assessed value, not the taxable value. So you take your assessed value times your rollback percentage, and then that gives you your taxable value. Before you can apply your levy to that, there's also a couple of credits. So the homestead credit and the military credit reduces your taxable value. Now, you guys are welcome to look that up, but that's not the simple thing now. It used to be, here's what your homestead credit was, but now if you're of a certain age, that raises what that credit is a little bit. I think next year it goes up again, and then there's a military credit too. So that credit can vary from somewhere $4,850, I believe what it is, somewhere up in the neighborhood of $12,000. So it's really tough when somebody's like, well, how does this affect me? There's so many different variables to be able to figure that out to say, here's exactly what you would pay in taxes. So we'll run through this real quick. So FY 24-25, the column on the right, the $200,000 house, multiply that times your rollback percentage. So your taxable valuation prior to credits on a $200,000 house is $92,686. Less the homestead credit. I just used the one that everybody receives as long as you apply for it. Don't make that mistake. I lived in my house for 2 years and didn't apply for it, and so we got to pay a little extra money. Anyways, that brings you down to the $87,836. You then multiply that times the school levy rate, and then divide that by 1,000. So this year, if your house is valued at $200,000, the district's portion of that tax would generate $1,580. $1,580.51. That is a decrease from $288.44 or $24.04 per month in property taxes. So what I would also like to talk about here is, I think we all know that valuations went up, so I kind of had a real hard time putting this chart in because it's not really comparing apples to apples. Overall, the district's taxable valuation went up just about 6%. I know some home valuations maybe went up a little less than that. I think there's some that went up to 20% or more. So that doesn't take this into consideration, but it's impossible to take that into consideration because everybody's a little bit different somewhere in there from 5 to 20% increase. So our general fund expenditures, this just kind of showing where our cuts came from. So the middle column there is with the cuts or with what our general fund expenditures will be, and then on the, or estimated to be, and then on the right side is what they would have looked like without the cuts. So the total expenditures and transfers out on the bottom, you'll notice the difference there of the $2.5 million. So then the adoption of our certified budget. So within the board agenda, there's an exhibit in there that has I think there's about 4 pages that come right from the Department of Management site that then we have to turn in and submit. This is just kind of taking a snapshot out of there. So 3 columns. We have the FY 24-25 budget, and then the re-estimated for our current year that we're in now, and then our actual. So we have what they call resources or revenue on the top, and then the requirements on the bottom, or the expenses. So as you can see overall, and this is all funds again, we have a reduction of about $9 million. So part of that is due to our budget cuts. Part of that would be what our cash flow looks like for the couple construction projects we have going on. I would say that's probably the 2 big things behind that reduction. And then how do we compare locally to our neighbors and kind of districts that are kind of close to size in us? So there we are, the first red column from the top. We're at $1,799. College looks like they'll be at $1,660. Marion at $1,791. Cedar Rapids at $1,390. Iowa City at $1,682. And Southeast Polk, they're roughly just about the same size as us, so that's why we kind of compare ourselves with them a little bit. They're at $1,544. So one thing I want to note is we do not have an income surtax here at Linn-Mar. An income surtax can help offset what a property tax levy is. So 2 lines down from that, there's a few that do. So what I did is the second line from the bottom is if they didn't have an income surtax and they were funded 100% through property tax, what their overall levy rate would be. So you can see like Marion Independent jumps up to $1,897, Iowa City jumps up to $1,771, and Southeast Polk jumps up to $1,639. Then the bottom line there, Linn-Mar's count is what's known as a property poor district, which means it takes a higher tax levy to generate the same amount of taxes in dollars as it does a property-rich district. So if a property-rich district, their tax rate could be lower, but they would be able to produce the same amount of dollars that we do. And that's not that property poor, meaning we have a lot of residential, and residential taxes generate 46%. On the commercial side, for example, on the rollback percentage, their first $150,000 in evaluation has that same rollback. Anything over $150,000, they pay taxes on 90% of that property. So commercial and industrial really helps drive what the valuations are for your district. And we know here in Linn-Mar, we just don't have a lot of that in retrospect. So that bottom line there is the taxable value per student. So we're at $351,000 per student. So like if we go to College Community, just on the south side of the city, they have $516,000 of taxable valuation per student. So you kind of see a property poor. I want to say College is property rich, but obviously a little more than what we have.
I appreciate that a lot. I love how you talked about the residential versus the commercial industrial. One item that we often hear gets overlooked is apartments. And apartments are not residential.
No. I don't, good question, Justin. I don't know what the rollback percentage is off the top of my head.
I don't know it either, but I know that it is a fraction of what residential pays. So it is, a lot of times people look and see all the apartments and say, oh, well, look at all the residential. And it's just, it is just a fraction. So, thanks.
Good to know. All right, so budget next steps. So April 22nd, that's the day, had our public hearing during this meeting. And then right now we're kind of going through the presentation to adopt the budget. And then by May 1st, I have to file the budget with the county auditor and then the DOM or the Iowa Department of Management. So with that, questions?
Good job.
Looks
Very
good.
thorough.
Thank you very much.
I do have one question. When we talked back and forth with some of those students that are enrolled outside of our district, some of that time is because we cannot provide them the services they need. Is there other reasons? It's not just always they live in our district and they're going someplace else. Is that, we were talking about why we pay other school districts money from our budget to educate our kids. Can you talk more to that? What would be a reason other than I want to go to another school?
Yeah, I mean, so if we don't have a program that offers their services, especially on the special ed side, then they are able to enroll in another district to that. And that's even a little bit different than open enrolling because you pay the true cost of what those services are. So a little bit different there too. But yes, we could have students that we don't have a program that supports their needs based on their IEP here at Linn-Mar, so they have to go elsewhere.
Also add, kind of building on that, that when I looked at the fiscal year 2024 numbers for net open enrollment, all the big districts, and when I say all, I'm going to say the top 8 districts in the state of Iowa had a negative net open enrollment. And so they were losing more students through open enrollment than they were bringing in. And just highlighting that, because I don't think that analysis has kind of been discussed, and it's just an interesting statewide observation. When you look at those bigger districts, they all are having more students open enroll out than are opening enroll in. And it doesn't speak to the causes or the why or is it a trend, but it is, when you just look at all the districts by size, that is one thing that they have in common in terms of this negative net open enrollment. But in general, like, thank you. This was a very thorough presentation. If folks are watching later, like, taking time to kind of pause and really look at all the wealth of information that you've shared, this is the most, talk about like transparency, like you really got into the details on this, and I know we appreciate it, and I hope that the community also sees the effort and planning ahead in a fiscally responsible way. So thank you so much for your work on this.
Thank you.
We're all good. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We need a motion at this point.
Motion to approve the budget guarantee resolution to levy property taxes for fiscal year 24-25 for the regular program budget adjustment as allowed under Iowa Code Section 257.14.
We need to back up one, Brett.
Yep. Let me try that one.
You're ahead of your-
I took so many notes that I totally can't see the first motion. I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed budget for fiscal year 24-25 as presented.
Second.
Motion by Justin, second by Laura. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Britt.
Same thing I just said. Motion to approve the budget guarantee resolution to levy property taxes for fiscal year 24-25 for the regular program budget adjustment as allowed under Iowa Code Section 257.14.
Second.
Motion by
have it.
Britt, second by Katie. Any questions, first of all? And this is a roll call vote.
Director Foss,
Yes.
Director Lau Lancaster,
Yes.
Director Maury,
Yes.
Director Thomas,
Yes.
Director Walker,
Yes.
President Buckholz.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Sorry to cut you off. Approval of the bond resolution. This is the bond resolution that we discussed a few weeks ago. So it's just coming forward at this point. This will be a roll call, but we need a motion to start with.
Motion to approve the resolution fixing the date of sale of approximately 20,200,000 school infrastructure sales, services, and use tax revenue bonds, Series 2024, approving electronic bidding procedures and approving the official statement.
Second.
Motion by Laura, second by Melissa. Questions? Roll call, please.
Director Lau Lancaster,
Yes.
Director Maury,
Yes.
Director Thomas,
Yes.
Director Walker,
Yes.
Director Foss,
Yes.
President Buckholz.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you.
I just say that anytime you can send us more 50-page financial documents to read thoroughly, that was super fun.
I will see what I can dig up for you.
To get a life.
That was home. That was truly
There
homework.
was some sarcasm
Read a
in
line.
there.
But talk about, I'm sorry, you said something about transparency. That's big time, whoever said that earlier.
That was line
Well,
after
I
line.
just took
Thank
the little sentence in bold from Matt Gillespie saying, this is a board-owned document. They are the only ones, like, I took that to heart and I read the whole thing. That was a lot.
Page per page, page per page.
Okay.
Motion to approve open enrollment requests as presented.
Second.
Motion by Britt, second by Melissa. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda, please.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Melissa, second by Katie. Questions? Comments?
Thank you for the, dedication of the district in your retirement.
Yeah, they're a handful. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, thank you, Bob,
Handful
And
of
to
retirements
Tina.
in there.
out there.
Congratulations to the others that are retiring.
Tina, Kevin,
Cindy, Lisa.
Yeah, Cindy Manowitz, Lisa Eiler, Caitlin, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I just wanted to echo what Amy said earlier about how there are names on here that originally, you said originally were RIFT, but now we've been able to find positions for them. And I just, yay.
Celebrate every time we see that.
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion by Melissa, second by Katie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Board calendar communications. I just want to make a quick comment about the groundbreaking. We've already talked about it a bunch, but this weekend I had a number of people question where that was going to fit in there and whether there's enough space in there. And I forget who said that tonight, Mayor Nick or somebody that said there's more space here than you think once you get off the road. So it will fit in there. It will be a very nice facility. Moving forward, we have a board visit at Bowman Woods at 9 a.m. on Thursday. IAC committee. 80, right? Is that all set? That's not one that you canceled. Okay.
I didn't cancel, but they have been, some of these have been rescheduled, so.
Can't make it to the board visit. We've got take your kid to school, take your kid to work day.
on Thursday, so.
Fun.
Okay, so we have another board meeting on the 6th. There's a lot of awards. You had asked about May the 8th was the volunteer
Yes.
awards in the boardroom.
So all the folks that were recognized tonight,
Here.
they'll be here at 5:15 on May 8th.
Correct.
Excellent. Looking forward to that.
May the 9th, we have a board visit as we walk through this all. Anybody see anything changing? May the 23rd, City Council. If somebody would, please.
I can watch it online. I'll do it.
And now we're winding down as the school district is getting close, right? Anything else for the good of the cause?
Just want to share something fun. I got unknowingly drugged to an opera performance Friday night at Drake University. And I say unknowingly because I'm a musical fan, opera, but there were at least 3 that I knew of, Linn-Mar alumni, that performed that night. And it was just really cool to see our students on the stage there in leading roles as freshmen. So our kids are just continuing to do really amazing things after they leave here based on the things that they learned here. So I'm not going to name them by name because I don't want to embarrass them, but our Linn-Mar alumni were doing wonderful things Friday night in Des Moines.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Melissa, second by Laura.
6:21.
6:21 p.m. Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good meeting, guys. Thank you.